Hello, everybody. This is Goldilocks. Welcome to Goldilocks's live stream. We are doing what we do here pretty much every time, okay? We are talking to MAGA to see why they might still be supporting the orange fat Cheeto. I can't imagine anybody who would legitimately support this man at this point, but they're still out there, and they come up and talk to us every single time. It's always a good time. Sometimes it's a little bit sad, because some of these people just legitimately show they have they don't even have the possibility of thinking for themselves. And ultimately, that's the answer with a lot of these people, is they just don't know how to think for themselves. So, we try to help them do that in any way that we know how, in the limited time we have with them while they're on the stream. So, if you're MAGA, come up and talk to us about it. Come up and talk to us about why you might still support Trump. If you're not MAGA and you're in here, tap the screen, share the live, follow, and join the team. It'll help you get back here. It'll help us get this out so that we get more interesting people up here actually in the guest box. We have been doing pretty good recently. I am pushing specifically for a sub this time. If the spirit moves through anybody and they feel like they want to end up subscribing, I do have a TikTok live goal that I kind of need to hit to get my metrics up, which is how TikTok decides whether or not it's going to push you out, basically. So TikTok has decided I need one more subscriber. Also, I will have you know that if the spirit has moved through you and you do subscribe, I will earn another subscription gift. So not only will you get your sub, but you will have earned somebody else a sub, and I'll just choose them based on how much they watch, basically, is usually how I do it. Is this the official TDS live? TDS isn't actually a thing, but I'm glad that you think it is because Trump thinks it is. I'm glad that you think it is. This topic is satire? No, not at all. You aren't a patriot if you voted for Trump. That is a legitimate statement, and I would love to talk to you about it, Navajo, if you accept that invite that you just got at the top of your screen to join. Navajo, are you going to join, or are you a coward? I kind of expect you to be a coward, because I already know you're not a patriot. But, okay, coward it is. We'll start with Ryan Allen, who I know we have had up here before. Ryan, how's it going?
Not bad, buddy. I'm just saying, I guess I'm being filled out by someone higher than you. I paid into Obamacare and never received any medical care when I needed it. So Obama failed me. I mean, you're just secondary from whom I was trying to speak with, correct?
What? What are you asking me?
Well, I tried to join one live. It kicked me back to you because they said was investigating to join the live, and this was over the passover of Obama to Trump. However, Obamacare, as a blue-collar man, I paid into...
I'm gonna have to interrupt you because you're going too goddamn slow, and you're hemorrhaging.
Oh, sorry.
You're absolutely hemorrhaging viewers. It's amazing that you've started off this poor. I have no idea what you're talking about. TikTok said it's investigating something, and you ended up on my live stream because what? Did you get blocked from somebody else's?
No, I did not.
It seems like maybe you got blocked, because that doesn't happen.
No, brother. I was on a live requesting up,
You're right, Bobby.
threw
There's
me
not
to
that
you.
many people watching, and there was double this before this guy got up, actually. So I'm gonna drop you, Ryan. I've already had you on a couple of times, and
It's all good.
we'll talk to you
I
later.
don't
Have a good one.
I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't know what you were trying to say, so we'll talk to you later. That was weird, man. I don't know. That was a really weird start. Really weird. John drove it.
Yeah, how we doing?
Drove.
Joe Savic. It's a hard last name.
All right.
But my name's John.
John, how you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How you doing?
Pretty good. How old are you?
I'm 20, sir.
And
College student.
Did you vote for Trump?
Yeah, this is my first year voting.
Terrible first time. How could you do that?
I'll answer that in a minute, but I have a quick question. So I just don't want to assume anything, but I'm just gonna ask you: are you a Democrat? Or are you like an independent, or? Because like this is my first time meeting you, so I don't know. Are you like Democrat, independent?
Do you think that my answer to this is going to determine how the conversation goes from your
No,
end?
but I'm just like, cause like I'm just asking like in general, cause like I don't know who you voted for.
Well, I voted for Kamala, but that doesn't answer your question.
All right. So, back to what I was saying about why I voted for Trump. I just think.
Do you think that that answered your question?
Yeah, because I just wanted to make sure who you like voted for.
Okay, yeah. If that was the point, then you asked the wrong question the first time.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. Just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, my bad. Because I just wanted like, I just voted for Trump. I just thought he was way better than Harris. Like I just thought he was the best candidate on the field, and I guess it showed that he won the election.
Okay, that's vague. Any specific reasons why you thought he might be better based on what he
sure.
said or what she said?
Yeah, sure. I know I was pretty young at the time, but I do remember some things. Like my family definitely had like a better life under Trump than under Biden. I really, because my family's
Not this take.
because it's kind of true though.
How did he make you better off?
Yeah, sure. My parents, for my family, I know this isn't every family. For my family's blue collar, so that's manufacturing. Trump helped wages go up for manufacturing with deregulation and the TCGA, which is statistically proven, and also we had just had a better economy under Trump, so it was way better than Biden's.
Oh, great. So the deregulation is your main point because the TCJA, like, how much did that help manufacturing?
It necessarily didn't help it a lot, but it did also help it.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Good. So deregulation, right? That's your main support for how you did better under Trump.
It's a little more than that. Like how Trump put how Trump brought solar panel manufacturing back to the United States, which created 30,000 new jobs, and one of my family members got a new job from that. So yeah, that was also another thing, but so
Okay. So you voted for Trump. We'll just boil this down to make it simple for you to just
There's
agree
more
with
reason.
something, right? Well, no, I'm going to boil this down so that it's simple for you to agree with it, right?
Yeah.
So you voted for Trump for economic reasons. The end.
more to that.
Okay, you're still not going to agree with it. All right. So what else is there?
I mean, you got border, which is a big thing.
Border is a big thing. It's like thousands of miles. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
What did you think he would do that is good for the border?
Probably prevent more border crossings, like how we have 10,000 under
Has he
Biden.
done that?
Yes, the border crossings have been lower.
Okay. How are his deportation
it went
numbers
from-
compared to the last quarter of Biden's administration?
It went from 10,000 to like 110. So
How are
that-
his deportation numbers compared to the
Getting
last
better.
quarter of the Biden administration?
it's getting better.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
How many undocumented immigrants do you think live in the United States?
How many
So
undocumented-
far, I really just want to point out that you're not actually saying anything of substance, but we're just going to move on.
What do you mean?
We're just going to accept what you're saying and move on because you're not actually saying anything, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like if I ask you a question, I expect you to answer it with some kind of actual detail.
I've answered a lot of your questions.
Sure, yeah, you're answering them with platitudes. That's fine. We'll move
Okay.
on.
I'll give
We'll
you a
accept
point.
your answers, your platitude answers, and we'll move on.
All right.
So, how do you feel about Trump removing permanent legal status from people based on speech so that he can deport them, specifically based on speech?
Do you mean like language speaking?
Yeah, I mean what they say, as in speech, as in the freedom of speech that we're supposed to have.
Has he done that?
He has done that, yes.
How many
Thank you
people?
for asking.
How many people?
At least one.
One person?
At least one.
But can you give me a number?
I can't give you a specific number, but I know it's at least one. I know there are multiple.
How can you give me like a couple cases in that situation?
Do you not keep up with the news?
I don't listen to CNN. No,
I
don't listen.
I don't listen to CNN either. You okay?
Yeah, them. I don't
You,
listen to.
you don't listen to any news, so you don't
No, I
keep up with the
listen- I
news,
listen
which is
to
what I
news.
asked.
I listen to news which is unbiased. Like Fox News is biased, CNN biased, ABC News biased. I don't listen to those.
Okay. So, do you listen to any news?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you've already heard about these things.
Not necessarily.
Because
that-
literally everybody has reported on these things. So if you haven't heard it, you just don't keep up with what's
I
happening.
reported them.
Excuse me? I was
has
still talking, so I didn't hear what you were saying.
Who has reported them?
Literally everyone. Like, this
Okay.
is not something you have to be blatantly ignoring everything to have missed any of these cases, really.
Like who has reported it?
Again, like literally every news agency.
Oh, news. So news agencies just reported it. No, like actual like other people, like citizens.
Yes, other people, as in citizens, are constantly talking about this, especially on lives like this. Like, literally, I'm not necessarily here to bring you every little fact because there are better lives for that. But if you've listened to literally anybody speak about these things, you will have heard about the human rights issues that I'm referencing.
I haven't heard anything about human rights issues.
Okay, well then you're either purposefully ignoring the news
I'm
or
not.
you're lying. So either
you know
either
what
way, you're not speaking right now. I'm speaking. I have a point to make. Either way, either you're purposefully ignoring facts so that you don't have to face them, or you're lying to us. And either way, this conversation is going to be completely useless. So why should I keep you up here?
You can't give me a number though on what's going on, how many people are getting deported for that.
I think this is something that I've heard before, that one is too many, right? I've heard that in
You
contexts
can't just say
before.
at least one. You gotta give me at least a number.
Actually, literally, I can say at least one. One is too many.
Who?
What do you mean,
Like how
who?
many people? What number of people?
Mahmoud Khalil is
That's
one.
one person.
Yes.
Like a number of.
How do you feel about that specific case?
Are you talking about the one that got falsely deported?
No, that's Abrego Garcia.
Oh.
So there's another case.
Yeah. Well, it happened. So.
What
I don't-
what does that mean? How do
Well,
you feel about Mahmoud Khalil's case?
Do you think Trump said deport this person because they speak another
Answer
language?
my question.
What was the question?
Yeah, you would hear it if you were listening to me. So if you do this one more time, you will immediately be kicked, and we will move on to the next person in the box. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how do you feel about Mahmoud Khalil's case?
I don't know that much about it.
So you've been ignoring news.
No, I just
Okay,
told you.
so you have absolutely just been ignoring what's happening. I encourage you shut up. Before I kick you, I encourage you to actually read up on these cases because it's important as an American citizen to keep up with what's happening with your government. Have a good night, and we'll see you
someone who
later
doesn't
when you're a
know about
little bit more educated on the topics at hand. Because obviously I understand that you're young, but you actually do need to look into this stuff. I can't just talk to a child who hasn't done any research at all. That's not going to go anywhere. it's literally not going to go anywhere. Tommy, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. If you haven't followed, do so. If you haven't joined the team, there's a heart that pops up after you follow. Tap that, give me the 1 coin gift. I get like 1/3 of a cent out of it. It just helps you come back. Helps you come back easier.
Okay, I'll give you a like. There.
And that was to the chat, not necessarily specifically to you. Thank you for joining the team.
So,
Tommy, how
your thing
old are
says
you?
you. Oh, I'm 34.
And you voted for Trump?
Yeah.
Yes. Then my thing says you're not a patriot.
That's kind of fucked up to say, though.
Is it? Why?
Because what about the veterans that voted for Trump?
Do you think
You're gonna say you're
that?
not
Do you think
patriot?
that because you were at one point a patriot, now you are just inherently always a patriot?
Most of them, yes.
Really?
Most of them, yes.
You think that patriotism can't be lost or revoked for any reason?
No, I've some of them, yeah, sure. But
Do you think the same
sure.
thing about permanent legal status, for instance?
What do you mean?
Do you think that we should be able to retain permanent legal status without fear
If
that
you
it'll
do
be
it legally?
revoked by the administration?
No.
Why?
Why would it?
Why would
If
it
I'm
what?
here-
Why would what? What?
What are you saying?
I asked you an English question. Did you not listen to it?
No, I did. It just didn't make sense. If I'm here, why would they kick me out? What are you talking about?
Okay. Again, so this is somebody, again, who's literally just not paying attention to what's going on. All right. So we'll start there. And we will tell you that human rights infractions are being committed against actual people living within the borders of the United States, right? They're being falsely deported. Courts are telling the administration to bring them back.
Yes, we've
And
seen
the,
that, yes.
and the administration is saying, oh, well, they're somewhere else now.
No, they're trying to bring him back.
No, they aren't.
They are. I just saw
Not with
the news
Abrego
today.
Garcia.
I just saw it today.
No, they literally are not. They're dodging
They-
responsibility, saying he's in Salvadoran custody now.
Yes,
That
and
is
he's
what it
alive,
is.
and they're working to bring him back.
Yeah, sure. Now they're saying that as of what, 3 hours ago?
Okay. So do you
What
think it was
were
very
they saying
patriotic?
yesterday?
Do you think it was very patriotic?
What were they
of
saying
Biden leaving
yesterday?
our military equipment?
What
in
were they
Iran?
saying yesterday?
I don't know.
Okay, all they were saying
Am I in the
yesterday,
White House?
all they
No.
were saying yesterday was he's in El Salvador in custody now. It's out of our hands.
They didn't even know if he was alive.
Do you? How would he already be dead?
Have you? It happens in prisons, especially in El Salvador.
Right. Great. Good argument. You're making your side look really good right now. So, do you think it would have been all right if he was just dead?
No, I don't. I think that'd be terrible.
Okay. Do you think that the administration would be responsible for that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that the potential for that is enough for them to be condemned for that action?
Yes.
Okay, so you condemn them.
Yeah.
Okay, good job.
Did you condemn Biden when he kept our military equipment over Iraq? He left our military
that
equipment
is
over Iraq.
One, the pullout was Trump's plan. He
It
forced
was,
the
but
Biden
Biden-
administration to carry it out.
Biden forced it to happen faster.
No, he didn't. He actually.
Yes, he did.
No, he literally
Look
did.
it up.
I did look it up. I've looked this up hundreds of times because
why
people
do we leave
continuously
everything
tell me to look it up. Now, if
Then
you'll
why
let,
do we leave
if
everything
you'll
home?
fucking let me finish what I'm saying.
Whoa.
Yeah, you shut up because I'm gonna answer your question, okay?
Whoa.
If you're gonna ask me a question, then you're gonna shut up while I answer it, all right?
That's not very nice. You say be quiet.
Oh, that's not very nice. My feelings are hurt now as a widow Trump supporter. Are you okay?
Are you crashing out?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Do you want to know why?
No.
Because you're spitting
I'm-
fucking
I just know you're gonna
whataboutisms.
tell me.
Were you listening to me when I was telling you why?
So go ahead.
Were you listening to me when I
Go
just
ahead.
told you
No.
why?
Go ahead.
So you're not listening to me.
No,
Why
was
should I
talking
keep you up
over
here?
you like you talk over me?
Why should I keep you up here?
Why shouldn't you? You're getting views.
Not from you. Have a good one, bud. It's not your fault that I'm getting views. Get out of here. Oh, K-Dog, how are you doing? K-Dog. Oh, didn't want to stay. All right, that's fair. If you haven't followed, do so. If you haven't joined the team, do so. I am actively looking for a sub this time because it's part of my TikTok live goals. Like, TikTok thinks I need a sub, or they won't give me they won't give me the same future audience, basically. That's how the TikTok live goals work. If you are generous enough to sub, I will also have earned enough gems to give a free sub out to somebody else. So you will have bought 2 for 1, effectively. Just, if you find it in your heart. Philip, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. How old are you?
I'm 30.
And did you vote for Trump?
I did.
How could you bring yourself to do that after he's done so much against the American people?
I think that's from a point of view.
You
The wrong
would think that as somebody who supports Trump, but how could you allow yourself to vote for a man who has done so much against the American people is the question.
Well, I think, national security, keeping our borders secure, Christian nationalism.
Oh, Christian nationalism. Love that as a point to bring up in America. So you're not a
what's wrong with
patriot.
that? No, we were founded on Christian values.
No, you've
was
already
America
proven
not founded
yourself to
on
not be a
values?
patriot.
Was America not founded on Christian
No,
values?
yeah, actually the founding fathers decided overwhelmingly to avoid founding the country on Christian values.
Well, no, our country.
Absolutely, yes, actually. So if you want to
Look
read
at
your history,
look at all of our. Look at
hold
all
on.
of our
If you
legal
want to read your history books again, I will gladly have a chat with you. But at least for now, you're not educated enough for this.
Look how much God has meant.
I'm gonna have to kick you, because just automatically, no, we literally were not founded on Christian values. We weren't. The founding fathers avoided that at all costs. Some of them were mad about it, but the others overwhelmed them. The end. We were founded upon principles of freedom, right? Freedom, one of which is religious freedom. Freedom of or from religion. It's so goddamn simple, and so many of you literally just don't get it.
Oh, Goldilocks.
How's it going?
Wait a minute. So, first, I'm 23, man. It's nice to meet you, bro.
Good to meet you. You voted for Trump?
I voted for Harris, but I got a discrepancy with the Democrats. I'm not even gonna lie, man, or a gripe with them, and that's
Fair enough, so do I.
their platform with manufacturing, bro. And I'm not even gonna lie, man, it's slowly turning me into a conservative in the sense that I'm starting to believe that bringing manufacturing will benefit people who are not college educated, which disproportionately are minorities.
You've kind of slurred the actual.
Sorry, yeah, man. I'll say it again. So, speaking with conservatives now, I'm starting to understand their perspective of bringing back manufacturing jobs, and I can understand how it would help benefit people who are not college educated. And I feel like that's kind of where the problem lies, with Americans currently, is that people who are college educated are getting ahead in their service jobs. But unfortunately, by deindustrializing, we have gone to a service-focused economy, and now we really have these high-paying service jobs and these low-paying service jobs like retail. And the college-educated people get the high service-paying jobs, and the non-college educated people get the low-paying, you know what I'm talking about, Walmart and Target. And unfortunately, the people who are impacted by that are minorities.
I understand. Is your problem with the fact that the lower paying jobs just aren't paying enough?
Well, it's my problem is that just by virtue of the kind of job that they have to pay less.
They do not. Absolutely not. That's an incorrect take.
Why do they not have to pay less?
They don't have to pay less because the corporations can obviously afford to just pay more. They can just afford it. The end.
How would they afford it? I mean, they run on like 10% operating margins and like profit margins.
And
My point being that like if they operate on even lower profit margins, people are not going to invest in those companies, so it wouldn't be like rewarding for them.
you're
I feel like
talking, no, absolutely not. This is just wrong altogether. You're talking about revenue, right?
Well, what we're talking about profits, because whenever we distribute wealth to like the investors, it's profits. It's not like just revenue.
Okay. So do you think that being willing to pay your lower positions more might encourage better workers to come and apply for those positions?
I would agree with that. That if you pay them more, it would like obviously just by the virtue of like supply and demand, it would attract more employees and better like skilled employees, but also just that like these they would not turn as much of a profit if they paid less, if you get what I'm saying, for these service jobs like retail.
I really don't understand what makes you think that. You're just guessing.
It's not a guess, man. I mean, it's more
It
like
absolutely is a guess. Like, do you have any evidence to suggest that paying people more would just tank the? What are you saying, that they'll go out of business?
Not saying they would go out of business necessarily, but they just wouldn't be as attractive of an investment.
Who cares?
The employees should care, because if people are not investing in these companies, then they're not going to get paid.
They're going to get paid from the revenue.
How are they going to get paid from the revenue if like when they have to get paid, it would decrease the profits and people would invest less because it would be a less profitable company.
Okay, then over time the corporations shrink and mom and pop businesses grow.
So you're advocating for mom and pop businesses, which would technically be inflationary because they charge higher prices?
They only charge higher prices because they can't afford the goods at the same cost of the corporations. So yes, absolutely. Yeah, I am advocating for mom and pop businesses to grow over corporations. What person in their right mind wouldn't advocate for corporations giving way to actual business owners?
I mean, okay, I see what you're saying, but like low-key, the corporation just got the economies of scales on their part, so they're just better able to produce these.
Right, but they don't have to have that, right? Pay people more or you're done. Like, we should regulate that. We should raise the minimum wage so that you have to pay these people more, and it's just going to come out of your profits. If investors are scared off, maybe you have to scale back production to make it work. You can make it work. You have plenty of goddamn revenue to make this work on some level for your business. This is not even something that actually scares any of these executives. Let me tell you that. They do not give a shit. Like, whatever the government does, they're going to be fine. They don't care.
Nah, see, I low-key agree. I agree that some of these jobs should probably pay us more. But I guess my biggest thing is more so that, like, we do need to bring back manufacturing to, like, the U.S.
That is actually fair. Do you think the reciprocal tariffs are the way to do it?
Nah, man. Honestly, I completely disagree with Trump, but I've like realized I really never heard any like policies that Kamala would have put in place that would have brought manufacturing.
You just teacupped. Where'd you go? What happened?
Sorry. Yeah, I never heard any like policies that Kamala would have. And low-key, I voted for her too because I fuck with her. She's dope. But like, I'm starting to realize this might be something I need to like question about the Democratic Party is like what they do different.
So yeah, she was going to give a $50,000 tax cut to business startups. Do you think that it would have been easier to start a manufacturing business if you were given $50,000 in rebate capital from your taxes afterward?
Yeah, that'd probably help out.
Pretty
But
chill,
would that be directed towards like manufacturers or this like for small
No,
businesses?
it's across the board. So regardless of what industry you're starting in, if you're a startup, you would be able to take advantage of that. So it would help businesses across the board, to be honest. But also, we don't necessarily need the manufacturing positions. Like, it's not a problem. Sure, get manufacturing back. We should be able to rely on ourselves more. I can wholeheartedly agree with that. But if the tariffs aren't the way to do it, then we're not supporting Trump, right? Then we're supporting the concept of bringing back manufacturing. And there are better ways to do it. I don't really want to go into that because I'm not actually an economist, but I have read a lot of takes from a lot of economists, and they almost all overwhelmingly agree that the tariffs is just a bad way to do it.
No, I mean I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm not an economist either, man. But I did graduate in like accounting, so I'm not the most well versed in like tariff policy. But from my understanding, I think tariffs could help if they're implemented in the correct way. But I will agree that Trump is probably not implementing them in the best way either.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that as well. Targeted tariffs have been shown to work for specific industries. Like if you want to bring the steel back to the U.S., then sure, tariff steel from our main sources. And that will force some American manufacturers to bring back some of their product, right? This is not something that can happen all at once, but it has to happen with baby steps. Otherwise, you end up getting it's the problem with it happening all at once like this, or at least him trying to, is it just creates a shit ton of market uncertainty, which is one of the worst things you can bring to the economy.
Not for you know what, man. I love talking with you. Thank you, man. You out here doing a good job. Go own these Trump supporters, man. And I was just here questioning the Democratic Party because I do consider myself a progressive. And I'm like, man, we low-key gotta, like I never heard any, like, points for manufacturing. That was my biggest gripe. So, good luck, man. I'm a big way for a true Trump supporter that might have some crazier points than I do.
All right.
See you later, man.
Good to have you, man. Have a good one. All right, cool. I will say this one more time. I'm not going to harp on it too often, but TikTok wants me to get 1 subscriber, to give me 25 gems, which in turn will make me able to earn another subscription present. So if it moves you to give that, like, I think it's $2.99 for a 1-month sub, if the spirit moves through you, you will also be earning some other poor soul who watches my live a lot for some reason a subscription of their very own. I'm not telling anybody to do it. I'm not begging you to do it. But TikTok would love my live if you do. We gotta do what TikTok wants out here. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. TK, how you doing?
Oops, can you hear me?
Yeah. How old are you?
35.
And did you vote for Trump?
Mm-hmm.
How on earth could you bring yourself to do that, man? Kinga subscribed. Thank you for fucking 12 months. Kinga subscribed for a full year. Thank you so much, man. Wow. All right. Anyway, why'd you vote for Trump?
Because we needed change. We were doing the same stuff, and it wasn't working.
So wanting change is totally valid. Wanting change in the way that Trump was saying he would change things during the election cycle, I do not believe is valid.
So does that mean, did you take everything literally that he said? Like everything was going to happen overnight. So like once he got inaugurated, the next day everything was going to be perfect? Or do you understand, like, there's a process?
What was he running on, out of curiosity? What are some of the main points?
Lower inflation, increased tariffs.
What was inflation at when he was saying that?
I don't know exactly what inflation was at that time.
Around 2.3%.
Okay.
So we really don't want it to be much lower than that.
How come?
Because inflation is a sign of a growing economy. If you have negative inflation, your economy is shrinking. That is, prices are being forced down because consumers don't have the confidence to buy goods anymore, and companies are being forced to lower prices until they do. So you always want positive inflation. You just don't want a shit ton of it.
So it's safe to say that it still could have went lower and benefited us. We weren't at negative. And I'd imagine even 1% would have made a substantial difference, not in a negative way, right?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you could get down to 1.4, whatever, but ultimately it's not that much of a difference. And ultimately, inflation was already on the right track. The economy that he inherited was specifically geared at this point toward everything was going in the right direction.
It didn't seem like that.
Okay, do you know what inflation was at its height under the Biden administration?
What inflation was at Biden's administration?
Yeah, what it was at its height.
No.
Around 9%.
So inflation drops. Why? So where was all of this taking place? Because it's safe to say that nothing was improving during that 4 years. I mean, I'm an active consumer of everything, and nothing felt like inflation was improving. And I would imagine 7% drop would be pretty substantial, like you said. I mean,
yeah. So when inflation drops, what happens?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
When inflation drops, what happens? What is happening to make us say that inflation has lowered?
Generally, the prices go down. There's more faith in the economy, more stability.
You were wrong on your first point. Inflation lowering doesn't mean prices have gone down.
So what's gone down?
Inflation is the judgment of how much prices have increased over the last year. Right? So inflation going down doesn't mean prices are going down. It just means they're going up at a slower rate.
So lower inflation is higher prices?
As long as your inflation is positive, you're still going to see you're seeing higher prices than you were that time last year, is what it is.
So we want inflation up.
Well, we want inflation to be positive, because if it goes negative, that means prices are coming down, right? We don't necessarily want prices to actively drop, because that means companies are being forced to drop their prices. And in this free market economy, that only means that nobody's buying shit, right? Which is obviously a bad sign.
But, yeah, gosh, it felt like nobody was buying anything. I mean, with real money. Obviously,
people were buying shit the whole time. Corporations were making record profits hand over fist.
I mean, yeah, I want to say I felt like that was taking place, but it was obviously largely debt related. Most people, I don't think, were purchasing from, actual cash flow.
Okay, but that counts, right? That's still the corporation getting money. What you do with that debt afterward, and yes, debt did also increase over this time, but what you do with that debt afterward is a whole nother story. I actually do not have the stats on what happened to all of that consumer debt from like the COVID times and the rest of the Biden administration. I actually have not looked at those graphs. I will be the first one to admit that, and that is something that I will look up after this live for sure.
So my other question is, okay, so what's your dilemma with him?
With Trump?
Yeah.
Open human rights violations to start. Also, blatant market manipulation, which is illegal. Appointing people who are absolutely not qualified for their position just because they're loyalists and he knows they won't go against him. Challenging direct federal court orders.
So I think a lot of that stuff that you just mentioned, so like I'm assuming you're referring to Elon Musk and Doge for the appointing of people that...
No, literally his entire cabinet, really.
But doesn't every president typically appoint people that are in their favor and not against them? I mean, that would be weird to choose enemies.
Right, but most presidents also appoint people who have experience in the field for which they're being appointed as head.
So I don't think that there's anything wrong. I would imagine there's got to be a certain level of confidence and competence in the individual to feel that they're worthy of being appointed.
No, there doesn't have to be.
Well, because it's a reflection of him, essentially, is what people will use it as, right? So if they do terrible, then who's it going to fall back on? Him, right?
Right, but they are doing terrible, and it's not falling back on him, right? We
Well,
still have people
I
coming
think
up here
that's-
and defending him.
No, I don't. I wouldn't say there. I think them doing terrible is personal preference, right? So like
What?
Doge is a common topic in Elon, right? We could agree that people don't like Elon.
Yeah, we can agree that generally Elon is viewed through a pretty negative lens right now, kind of from both sides.
Well, I disagree with kind of for both sides. It depends on what you watch.
About half of my guests think that Doge is legitimately doing a terrible job, and most 99% of my guests are on the right.
So I disagree with that, but hold on.
You can't disagree with that. That's just what's happened here. I have hundreds of people on every week, and half of them don't think that he was right for the position, don't think he's doing this legitimately, and don't see any evidence, because there is none, that he's actually saved any money at all on any kind of legitimate scale.
So do you think that's something? I mean, I would think everybody would agree that digging into the government financials and uncovering stuff
Would
is
be a
going to
good
be.
thing. Yeah,
and
that would.
fixing it
Yes, we can.
is
I
gonna
think
be-
literally everybody can agree that the government should be audited on a regular basis. I think a lot of people could agree that it actually probably is, and I don't think that anybody would have a problem with doing that more so, with really, really taking a fine-tooth comb, digging through agencies and seeing where those deficiencies are so that we can patch them or get rid of what we need to get rid of. But the problem with Doge is that they're literally just blowing shit out of the water and saying that it was a waste of money, not providing any evidence for it. And in fact, we can make clear, cogent arguments as to why eliminating some of these things is just terrible for people.
So I believe that the issue I have is I think a lot of people that might agree with regulating the government and auditing them would want a politician in place to do so. And I'll be the first to say I don't want a Republican full-blown politician, nor do I want like a full-blown Democrat auditing our government.
Why would anybody advocate for a politician auditing the government?
Well, because okay, so here, let me finish the rest of it first. So the other thing I don't want is you could take it however you want, but I don't want a poor person auditing the government either, right? Because they're very easily manipulated, right? Could we agree that if you have a really, really wealthy person and you have a very, very poor person, and that's who you're choosing between to audit the government, one's going to be easier manipulated than the other?
No, not necessarily. I can tell you for a fact that the billionaire Elon Musk is a manipulator, right? So I don't want that.
Now, how is he a manipulator?
How is he a manipulator?
Yeah.
Have you watched his Path of Exile live streams by any chance?
No.
Okay, so Elon Musk owns, or at least owned, the I think rank 2. No, I think he was like top 10, but I don't think he was that high. I don't think it was top 3. I think it was top 10 Path of Exile characters in the world, right? Like pretty big news. The entire gaming community is like, what the fuck, man? This guy's a god at games. And then he got on a live stream, didn't know what the fuck he was doing, and it quickly became clear that he had paid somebody to boost that character for him, right? So this is a man that will lie to everyone about being good at something so that he can have glory, and just so that he can have glory. That is a pathological liar who just wants power and is already probably shown to have done things that got him direct government contracts that he didn't have before.
I don't. I don't think a video game is a good judgment of character.
It absolutely is.
I would
because
say
it's
most
not.
people
It's
cheat
not the
on video
video
games.
game. It's not the video game. It's the fact that he's telling everybody he did this. It's the
Yeah, so-
lying, right?
Little things like that. I will. So we could all agree that most politicians lie to some extent or another.
Is this a rhetorical question, or am I actually supposed to answer it?
Yeah, they do. Oh, I mean,
Can we agree that Trump probably lies about more shit and more serious shit than any other president we've ever had?
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay,
but
then,
if you don't like
you're,
him,
you're,
I
you're
understand.
literally just disingenuous.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying he doesn't. He
You
hasn't lied
absolutely
about
are.
anything.
No,
I'm not
this
saying he hasn't
man,
lied
this
about
man
anything.
has lied about everything. What has he told the truth about?
What does he need to lie about?
He doesn't. That's the
He
crazy
doesn't
thing.
need.
Why does he do
doesn't
it then?
need. Because he doesn't lie. He genuinely cares.
Oh man. Okay. All right. So you're a sheep. You're just a sheep.
No.
You
Do I think
absolutely
there's
are,
any
dude.
perfect
You
president?
just said he
Absolutely
doesn't
not.
lie. You just said every politician lies, and then when drilled about it, you said Donald Trump doesn't lie. What
Okay, well,
the
it's safe to
fuck?
say Donald Trump has been known as a businessman, not as a politician. But
Oh,
we'll put him on the level of a
no.
politician.
Hold on then.
and I
Hold
will-
on then. All politicians lie. Donald Trump doesn't lie because he's not a politician, even though he's serving his second term as the president of the United States. What a fucking joke, dude. You okay?
Okay, so you can't. Don't get so worked up. We're just talking.
I will absolutely
here's-
get worked up over this because that is laughably hilarious. Like, the take was wild, dude. The fact that you can't see that little chain of events there was wild is in itself wild.
No. So here's the thing. Obviously,
Here's the
you
thing.
turn-
I love that too. This is going to be good.
Yeah. So you turn on your TV, right? You watch whatever you watch, and all you see is Trump is devil, right?
No. Wrong.
Where have you seen something good? Name two good things about Trump.
I can name one.
Exactly, right. I can name two good things about pretty much every politician, whether I hated them or not.
I can name one.
Okay.
Look,
Let's hear it.
I'm just saying, I don't disagree with literally everything he does. I can name one thing that I wholeheartedly support.
What is that?
Getting rid of the penny. Fuck that shit.
Okay, that's goofy.
That's
but,
the one thing.
okay, so you
That is
hate
the one good
every-
thing he's
or
done in this
disagree
term,
with
at least.
every single other thing he has done.
In this term. I'm limiting it to this term.
So last
Generally,
term,
I don't talk too much about the last term because a lot of people are so fucking tied down to, well, I did better under Trump.
Yeah, well, so here's my thing. Whether you agree or disagree, I think he genuinely cares about this country. I'll tell you one thing. I don't care who it is. Most people would not have an attempted assassination and still continue forward.
That
I'll
is
tell you right
that
now.
is absolutely not logical at all.
It 100% is.
That
If
is
you got
absolutely
shot at
not
for
logical
doing the
at all.
job-
That is not logic. Fuck that. That's not even an argument you could possibly
Okay.
make. If
Yeah,
I
so
if I was shot,
no-
no, hold on. If I was shot at on a stage during a campaign, if me personally, not even hypothetically, if I was shot at and I didn't even end up with a scar on my ear, I'm not gonna stop running.
You
Fuck that.
100%
No,
would.
I would not.
I already, yes. You're a
Maybe
big
you
talker
would.
on. Negative.
Because
you're
I'm
right.
going to
You're
be
right.
running for office.
You're right. I would. Because you know
Okay,
if I was in his
so you're
position-
weak. That
Listen,
doesn't
listen,
mean
listen.
he's strong.
No. Okay, listen. Just because you have long hair, listen. The problem
Excuse
is,
me? What?
I didn't stutter.
Excuse
listen,
me? What do
here's-
you mean? What do you mean?
I'm about to explain it to you.
No, you're not. Not what you just said. Explain
About your long
that.
hair?
Yeah, explain that.
You need to see a barber. It's fine.
Okay,
This is
see
the
you later.
point.
See you later.
Okay, have a good day, sweetie.
We're not Just real quick, before I get rid of you, we don't engage in ad hominem attacks here. So if you're going to do that, you're just going to get kicked.
Cuss, and you're doing that. So
who's
okay.
we? We do that here. You can cuss.
No, we fucking don't.
Okay, so there you go. That's fine. We do cuss here.
So,
because
anyways,
you can be passionate. No, shut up. We can be passionate.
You're not
but
passionate.
You can be
You're
passionate,
emotional.
but you can't do.
There's a difference.
You can't make ad hominem attacks, right? Because that just shows you're a fucking child. So have a good night. Have a good night. Take it easy, bud.
That's what I'm talking about, bro.
How are you doing?
Listen, for one, so you can sit and attack people, talk shit to people, but when they say something about you, bro, you gotta kick them? Like, that's crazy, dude.
No, I didn't have to kick him. He was just, literally the entire time, he couldn't, literally the entire time, he couldn't say anything legitimate, and you listen, literally the entire time, he couldn't say anything legitimate, and once you start throwing in ad hominem attacks because your little sensibilities have been hurt, that's the last straw. If you can't actually, if you can't actually engage in a meaningful conversation, then you can't throw ad hominem attacks on top of that.
Right,
We're not going to deal with that. What do you mean? What do you mean? Listen, do you have a reason you voted? Do you have a reason you voted for Trump? Do you have a reason you voted for Trump?
Well, I didn't vote this year, but you know what?
Okay, well then we're not looking for you. You're not our guest. Why are you even up here? You don't get to come up here if you're not a Trump voter. So follow the rules. There are just a few rules on this live, all right? Showing me basic respect isn't even one of them. It's not actually even one of them. It's not. There are a few rules, and if I ever let you know what a rule is, you're going to follow it, or you're going to be done. And yes, the rules can change. So if I ever have you up on as a guest, and the rules change on you, and I give you a new rule, you're going to follow it, or you're going to be kicked, right? We can have a conversation as long as you're willing to engage with me in the way that I approve of. That's the freedom of speech here on my platform. I'm just kidding. I have open dialogues with people all the time where we talk about some wild fucking shit. You can literally talk about anything you could possibly think of on here, unless it's blocked by TikTok TOS. But after like 25 minutes of this guy, not one of his arguments was valid. He did not deserve to do ad hominem attacks. He didn't earn it. I've had people earn it that I went back and forth for 5-10 minutes just doing ad hominem attacks. We're not worried about it. But he didn't earn it. He didn't put enough work in. Okay? All right? Let's explain this. Let's explain this, MAGA. What's going on here? You guys got to try harder. That's really the point. You got to do better. The point of this entire live is that if you're still supporting Trump, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You just don't. You just don't. You don't know nothing. DWC Addict, I was going to invite you up, but your invites are off because you're a coward. So you can go, what you can do is you can go into your TikTok settings and enable the invites, and then we could talk. Tell us why Democrats are better. I will. I just sent you an invite. Come up and talk about it. For the record, I also don't support the Democrats. Like, I am not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I don't support the party as a whole. But if I have to vote for somebody over Trump, it's almost certainly going to be somebody else over Trump. Almost certainly. Unless we have, like, somebody who's actually running on literal fascist rhetoric. Like, if Vivek had gotten the actual nomination, that would be worse than Trump, just because the actual rhetoric being on a stage is so much more goddamn harmful. Legitimizing the stuff that he was saying during the presidential primary for the Republicans would be very harmful to the U.S. Kamala was better, for sure, by a long shot. Like, not even, there's no even question whether she was better. Obviously. she can at least form a coherent sentence. So there is that. If you're MAGA, get in the box. We do need you to talk to. We actually need you to talk to. A lot of the guests so far have been just very strange. Some of the strangest. We don't know what they're trying to say. They don't actually have cogent arguments. And then their feelings get hurt and they start to attack my character. Lone Wolf, yes, I am for real. She could form a coherent sentence and Trump just can't. Right? This is something that we witnessed during the presidential debate. Like, how could you even question that? Ant, how you doing? Can I call you Ant? I love the nickname.
You can call me whatever you want.
Fantastic. How old are you?
31.
Did you vote for Trump?
I did.
How could you bring yourself to do that?
Well, really, I just wanted to go up against your the words you got behind your head up there.
Yeah.
And were you in the military?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for your service, if you were, by the way.
Yeah, I was. I was in the Navy.
Thank you for your service.
But so does that mean because I voted for Trump, now I'm automatically not a patriot?
Well, did you make an oath to serve the Constitution?
Sure.
Then yes. You have,
so how was I?
You have forsaken that oath.
Because I voted?
For Trump, specifically.
How does that break the Constitution?
He wants to break the Constitution. He is doing unconstitutional things. He's continuously talking about doing unconstitutional things. I don't know how you could see him as constitutional, to be honest.
I see him as winning the popular vote and winning the Electoral College. I think that's pretty constitutional.
That literally is not what that means. Do you want to try again?
Well, I mean, it has nothing to do with the Constitution, but he didn't do anything against the Constitution by becoming the president. And I didn't do anything against the Constitution by voting.
He absolutely has done things against the Constitution as president. He absolutely did do things against the Constitution as president before, so there's no excuse that you could possibly use that maybe you didn't know he would. So, do you want to try again?
Well, what is the Constitution?
What do you mean, what is it?
I'm asking you a question. What is the Constitution?
The Constitution is the document upon which our entire government gets its foundations.
Right, but those words that are written, right? Yeah. They can be up for some
interpretation.
Interpretation to a degree.
Yes.
A very small amount, but to a degree. And I feel like maybe people in your position can take things that Trump does because you guys hate him so much and you guys kind of make it worse than what it is.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So falsely deporting people to a supermax prison in El Salvador can be taken worse. For sure, it could be taken worse. How do you take it?
I didn't really look into that too much.
You didn't look into it?
I only know a little
Great.
bit from what I've heard.
Great.
I didn't look into it. But
You
I only
should.
know. Yeah, I definitely should if I'm going to have a conversation on that. But that's not what my conversation was about.
No, what I mean is you should look into it because even just on a surface level when you hear about it, it's something that should throw up a red flag as possibly being a human rights violation, right?
Absolutely.
So why haven't you looked into it?
I don't know, because I have a life and I'm just not full of politics. I've looked into a lot of things.
I also have a life. I don't do this all the time.
Yeah, I get that. But, like, that's a specific thing. That specifically I haven't looked too deeply into, but there are other things.
Yeah, a patriot would have looked into it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I guess your determination of a patriot then is to look into every single thing that happens whilst putting your life to the side.
No, that's not what I said. My
Okay.
definition of a patriot would include somebody looking up what the administration is doing when it has something to do with something that throws up red flags as possible human rights violations according to the Constitution, because that's pretty important and it doesn't happen all the time.
The Constitution applies to citizens, though.
No,
does
it
not
doesn't.
apply
It applies to
non-citizens.
every single person on U.S. soil. There is
It was not
there
written
is
for
absolutely
intruders.
no language that limits the rights afforded by the Constitution to only U.S.
You don't
citizens.
need language.
Okay, so tourists to the U.S. can just be disappeared off the street, and you think that's totally fine?
No, because they're not intruders. They have gone through a legal process of getting here.
Okay, so you think the
coming inside.
Constitution does apply to tourists?
I said it was not written for intruders. Is what I
So,
said.
but you do think that the Constitution applies to tourists?
In some ways, but not all.
Okay, so what about people with permanent legal status who are being deported, having that revoked and being deported simply because of what they're saying?
Well, it depends on their legal status. If they gain their legal status through a way that they deemed not an official process or should not have been a process.
That's not what they're
in the
arguing
past.
at all. No, they have permanent legal residency. Like that's not being called into question. It's being revoked by the administration
Because of a crime?
what they're saying.
What are they saying?
They're pro-Palestinian protesters.
So pro-Palestinian protesters are being deported because they're pro-Palestinian protesters.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and the reason for that is because of some sort of allegiance to Israel.
Yes, the administration is claiming that they're anti-Semitic, and that is a threat to our foreign policy.
Okay. Well, see, that's something that I don't know 100%, and I know we are allies with Israel, and I know that it would be against our own benefit to have people who are against our allies or against our own nation.
I do appreciate the fact that you thought about the words you were saying for that one to a reasonable degree. I appreciate the fact that you're thinking about what you're saying. Some people get up here and it's like they're reading from a script. I really do appreciate it when somebody is actually thinking about what they're saying. I just wanted to say that real fast. But these are permanent legal residents. They have freedom of speech. That is a right afforded by the Constitution. The only things that could apply, constitutionally speaking, that would allow them to revoke permanent legal status from these people is if they're engaging in terroristic activities.
Mm-hmm. Does that include, like, if they're deemed to be, like, what's the word? Like, if they're scheming, or it seems to be that they're scheming plans on some sort of terroristic level?
Yes, sedition would definitely be a case for revoking, for sure.
Right, and do we know that they have not done that?
Do we need to be provided proof that they have not done that? And think about this on a logical level.
Do I need proof? Do I need proof, or does the court system need proof?
Literally anything. So, on a logical basis, you can't prove that something isn't the case. It's impossible.
I think maybe I'm...
So, yeah, when you're talking about whether or not you can prove something, you cannot prove a negative, right? You cannot prove that I'm not an astronaut. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much you look up, even if you look up, even if somehow you knew every second of my life, you could not possibly prove that I'm not an astronaut.
I see what you're saying now, but what I'm saying is there information that's not privy to me, per se, maybe not even you, maybe you know this, but I'm just saying, has the court determined that there was sedition or any sort of other thing that would have provided them reasoning to deport them?
No, in fact, overwhelmingly, court cases that have happened because of this have shown that there is literally no evidence except tattoos, apparel, stuff like that. And some of the tattoos are as simple as being a crown. Like, there was a guy deported because he had a tattoo that was for autism awareness, because his brother is autistic.
Yeah.
And that was the only evidence that any lawyers involved in his particular immigration case can cite.
Okay. And is Donald Trump actively the one who oversees if they get deported, or is there a team?
Technically, it would be the Department of Homeland Security, but he appointed the head of the Department of Homeland Security. Also, obviously, if they're doing something wrong, he calls the final shots, right? He can still tell them to do it a different way.
Right. But I feel like almost every single president in history has some sort of problem with the people that were put into place, and they're doing things that could be against what they would consider within their purview of like how they want the country to be structured and ran. But they have so many things going on that maybe they're not looking into that particular thing as much as they're looking into other things.
Okay, maybe Trump shouldn't be golfing while people are being deported under his watch.
I mean, there was a lot of presidents who did that.
That's fair, but we can have a problem with them too. I have a problem with him right now.
Well, I'm sure you have a problem with almost every single past president then.
That's fine. We can have a problem with all of them. I have a problem with him right now.
I understand that, but you're saying that this makes me unpatriotic for voting for him, though.
Yes, because
So-
he said this would happen. He
So does that-
basically said all of this would happen. He is
So does that-
actually fulfilling promises that he ran on.
Right. So does that make you unpatriotic for voting for any of the presidents you've ever voted for?
You could argue that. That's not even the antithesis of what I'm arguing.
Okay. I don't know that I understand that.
I'm only arguing that you're not a patriot for voting for him. I'm not arguing whether or not I'm a patriot currently.
Are you?
I am. I consider myself to be. I legitimately want what's best for not only the nation, but every single person within it.
So let me ask you then, if someone has the same motivation for doing what they're doing as you, how could you consider them not to be a patriot?
Because I can logically prove that they voted for somebody who showed he would not be pushing for what is best for every person within the country.
Okay, but then that would go against you as well, because you voted for another president at another time who could have did the same thing.
That's fine. I'm not arguing that I am a patriot. I think I am, but that's not what we're arguing here.
Okay, well, I can just, I guess, fight your argument with, I think I am a patriot. Wouldn't that just totally destroy the words that are behind your head?
No, not at all.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't
Because
have...
just because you think you are doesn't mean you are. You voted for somebody who said he would be committing human rights violations. Not directly. He didn't say that directly, but he did say he would instate policies that obviously would have ended up committing human rights violations. Mass deportations are just guaranteed to do that on some level. Let's just be clear about that. Unless you do literally everything perfectly, somehow trying to do mass deportations, some things are going to fall through the cracks. You're going to get the wrong guy. You're going to miss a guy. Some things are going to happen, right?
That's where I totally agree with you. That's where I do have a mutual ground with you, because I do think things like that happen. But I think the overall scheme and the overall goal, though, is the preservation of the United States.
Right, but so where we differ is I want what's best for every single person within the United States.
Okay, so a patriot to you would be, and just a steel man would be, even someone who came over here without any legal grounds and just passed over the border now falls under your idea of some sort of constitutional, sovereignty?
Yes, in almost all cases, the Constitution should afford all of its rights to every single person on U.S. soil. My only real exceptions are violent offenders. Violent offenders, do what you want with them, to be honest. Now, that said, violent offenders that are caught should be sent to a U.S. detention facility and see their day in court in the U.S. Don't just automatically deport them, and there's a very good reason for that. Can you tell me what that would be?
Well, they would come back, and I agree that they need to go to some court system, but I disagree that they should come to our court system. I think they should go to their country's court system so that we're not bogging down our system.
Well, so if you do not send them to our court system, the victims will just never see justice, is my main reasoning for it.
Oh, well, okay, so let me retract. It depends on the crime. If they murder somebody here or unalive somebody, or however I should say,
yeah, unalive is
then
generally
yes.
the consensus. I wouldn't have pushed you too hard on it unless it got to like 3 or more.
But yeah, I would think that they should come to our court system for sure for something like that, because a victim is involved and it deserves justice to be handled at that moment.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I agree.
Based.
But I do think that there's a lot of people. We've already got a major issue with our justice system and itself, and the amount of people that are in the prison systems. Sometimes you got to do things a little differently. I feel like there's not always a black and white answer.
How do you feel about the asylum process?
My grandmother and grandfather, great grandfather and great grandmother came from Cuba. We were under the political refugee program. So
you appreciate it? You appreciate that it is a thing that we have?
I do. Yes,
Okay.
I think political refugee is not necessarily necessary. I don't think that the U.S. has to have it. I feel like it is a privilege for other countries to be able to utilize it. It was a privilege for me and my family, and I think that we should show our appreciation for it.
Okay, but awesome. I think I have one more question for you, and it's not that I want to cut you off. It's just we've been up here for a while, and I got a couple more people in the box. But I do want to dig in a little bit just beforehand. How do you feel about a recent quote that Trump made while talking about the El Salvadoran prison, specifically CCOT? He was asked if, because they've actually talked about this as a possibility, the dictator over there, who a self-proclaimed dictator, by the way, that's not me. The dictator over there said that he would be willing to incarcerate U.S. citizens as well. And Trump was quoted as saying, if we have a legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know if we have the legal right. Do you think they have the legal right to do that, first of all?
I'm sorry if I explain the context a little bit better, because like I said, I don't know much about this.
People that they haven't deported, like people that are actually still U.S. citizens that have been convicted of convicted of a violent felony or felony, whatever. They're actual U.S. citizens that have been convicted of a crime. Do you think that the government could theoretically have the legal right to extradite them to a max security El Salvadorian prison?
Were they born into the U.S. or did they come? They would have had to came over here, right? So they would have had to utilize a privileged system to make it into the U.S., thus gaining citizenship.
So no, what we're talking about, the context of the question is actual U.S. citizens, not people with permanent legal status, which is different.
Oh, you're just talking about a person like me who was born here. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Do you think they could have the right to do that?
No.
Okay, awesome.
No.
Do you think that the president should automatically answer with a no on that as well?
So initially my first response would be no. But when I think about it, there are laws, or there used to be punishments like banishment. I don't know if that's a logical response to that or not, but Trump is in a place where laws get made, And I don't know if answering anything right away with a yes or no is, I guess, right or wrong in his standpoint.
Very diplomatic response. I would say that appealing to ancient traditions such as banishment for a crime, definitely not the ideals that the country was founded upon. Like, that just flies in the face of our entire judicial system.
I don't think so either, but I'm just like granting a reason why you could hesitate because you're a lawmaker. There could be something else, and it may not be banishment. It may be something out of my purview.
That's fair. You might hesitate to provide a concrete response. That said, the first words out of his mouth as the answer, if you recall, were, if we have a legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. Do you think that he should say that?
I really need to see all the context because it kind of doesn't even make sense to me. If he was asked by the El Salvadorian,
no, he was asked by reporters in the U.S. whether or not he would consider extraditing U.S. citizens that are criminals to this El Salvadorian prison because this man had said he would be willing to take them.
Oh, okay. I mean, it depends on the crime. I mean, in place for unaliving somebody, instead of some people are against the unaliving penalty, so sending them to another country's prison might be better for the criminal. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what would be right or wrong. All I know is that I wouldn't consider that absolutely terrible, dependent upon the crime. If it was something negligible, then yes, there would be an issue there. But if it's something really, really bad, I think there's a lot of things that you could do, especially with the problems that we have now. A lot of people go back into the system. So, I don't know.
Interesting. All right. We can leave it at that, I think, for now. I do got to move on to the next guest, but I do wholeheartedly encourage you to just look up some of the people, the main cases of people that have been deported and where their cases stand and why they're fighting against it. Some of them can't even fight against it, really, because they're in that fucking prison where the guards don't even let you stand up straight for fucking photo ops, right? You have to walk bent over at a 90-degree angle to be transported anywhere at gunpoint. It's not a good place.
But they're being deported because of a crime, though, right?
No, not all of them.
Not all.
No. Okay. Not all of them have been shown to have any evidence that would point to them having committed a crime.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look into it more.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have you back up. Have a good one, man.
You too.
Reasonable discussion. We're just we're trying to get people to just acknowledge that bad shit could be happening, right? I'm trying to just get people to acknowledge that could be the case, and then just go read about it. Some of it is very bad. Howdy, partner. Damn, I missed it. I'll get used to that eventually. What are we at? 1:18, and we're at 11 o'clock. I probably got to go shortly here, but we'll see what happens. Howdy, partner. Thanks for giving me another shot. Dustin, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I've been sitting here listening to you for a while, and this won't be a long one because I've only got like 4% left on my phone because I've been sitting out there listening to it.
All right, yeah, what do you got?
Okay, now I am completely on your last caller's side, but it's always better to talk to somebody who disagrees with you than talk to somebody that agrees with you.
Yeah.
If I want to talk to somebody that agreed with me, I'd be at a bar right now.
That's about it.
Now, you said that you're not a patriot if you voted for Trump. What did that, don't say constitutional, don't say legal. What did Trump do that's unpatriotic?
Well, doing anything as a president that's unconstitutional is unpatriotic.
Okay. All right. So we're going to say, like any deportation of anyone that's in the United States is unpatriotic.
No, not necessarily. I've already said that I would honestly fully support deporting violent offenders that also happen to be undocumented immigrants.
Okay. What about a blanket deportation of all undocumented, as you say, undocumented? I say illegal immigrants.
If you want to get into the actual legal technical definition or legal technical terms, then they would be illegal aliens. I can take that.
Illegal aliens, illegal immigrants.
But otherwise, yeah, we generally say undocumented immigrants because we think here that everybody actually deserves a shred of dignity. Nobody is illegal, right? Just by their nature.
Well, I mean, in order to be a country, we have to have borders.
I mean, that's an ethos for sure. You can take that stance.
Okay, give me another country that you can just walk into and say, okay, I deserve to be here.
Why would I have to do that? That's not an argument against what you're saying or for what I'm saying.
Well, no, that's what you're saying. Undocumented means that, oh, I just don't have the right paperwork. Illegal means I broke your laws as a country.
Right, but what you're doing is calling somebody illegal, right?
Well, I mean...
So what the distinction is that, sure, the act of coming here to live without coming through a proper port of entry or claiming asylum anywhere as you enter, the act is illegal, right? But the person isn't illegal. A person can't be illegal.
And I'm going to compare people to dogs right now because I like dogs more than I like people. I have a dog. If a random dog runs up my yard, I don't call it just a dog. I call it a stray dog.
Okay.
So you have to put labels on things.
Do you?
Yes, you have to.
Okay, so we have to... That's a weird take from the right, that you have to put labels on things. We could extend that a lot.
You do.
We could extend that very far.
I would love to.
So how do you feel about, man, some of these things we literally can't talk about since TikTok has been reinstated. I'm going to say trans people, but it's got to be T people, right? Just don't say the word trans.
All right, T people.
How do you feel about them having the label?
I believe that people are born with a set of chromosomes. Those chromosomes define who you are.
Okay.
Whether your feelings, your whatever, they define who you are.
Okay, do you know that there are some females who have a Y chromosome?
That is such a small minority that you have to classify that by itself by giving it a label.
Okay,
I do believe in
what are
hermaphroditism.
they? Oh, hermaphrodites. Okay. So there are 3 genders at least.
No, there are 2 genders and then a genetic deformity.
Well, but you just gave them another gender, right? You gave them a different
I didn't.
labeled gender.
I gave them a genetic deformity.
Well, but no.
Cattle are born with 4 legs, but I've had
If there are only 2 genders...
Animals are born with...
hold on. If there are only 2 genders, then all hermaphrodites must fit within one of those 2 genders, logically speaking.
No, there are 2 genders, and there's genetic deformity. But that is not a choice. That's what happened. All animals are born with 1 head. Well, I've seen a calf born with 2 heads. Does that make it, it's a 2-headed calf? That is a genetic deformity.
Okay, I don't see how that relates to what we were talking about. That's a bad analogy, right?
Well, it is in your mind because you're on one side of the but we're getting way off the not being a patriot thing. But I do believe
no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're still on it because a patriot should want what's
there's
best.
There's an XX
hold on,
and an ex-wife.
A patriot should want what's best for every single person in the United States.
No, a patriot should want what's best for the United States.
Okay, so you are only a patriot because you want what's best for the country, which doesn't actually include the citizens of that country.
No, it doesn't include. It doesn't mean that. It means every single person. What's best for every single person.
Do you think it means what's best for 51%?
51%?
Yeah, is it just the majority?
No, because
or where's
then it would be a democracy. No, we wouldn't be a majority because the majority would be like asking 4 dogs and a sheep what they want for dinner.
Okay, again, terrible. Can we just stop with the analogies? Your definition of a patriot is somebody who wants what's best for the country as a concept. What does that mean? You don't care whether the people get what they need?
That means that Dustin Boynton up here in the mountains of Pikeville, Tennessee, and Russell Boynton, my son, who lives in Chicago, pays less every day for the things they need.
Okay.
That we spend less. Do you think it's okay? Because you're on those undocumented immigrants; they should all be treated the same. Do you think it's fair to a retired Army veteran that's lived here all his life and retired from the Army, 100% disabled, and is slinging concrete, that he can't get the same benefits and the same cash card that 50,000 undocumented immigrants that go to New York get?
Yeah, what benefits does the federal government give undocumented immigrants? And can you cite a source for that?
Housing. Yeah. Do you want me? Well, I would if I didn't have just 2% left. But are you going to tell me that undocumented immigrants were not housed and given cash vouchers and SNAP cards and stuff when they came to the United States?
One, by the federal government, and two, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm asking for a source that they did. I haven't ever.
Well, you're asking me for a source, and I'm any possible thing you can look up. We'll show you that. It's not like it's
okay.
It's not like it's a big secret.
Okay, I will.
I am 99.9% against government aid.
No, it looks like only documented immigrants are eligible for federal funding, as far as I can see.
Okay. Then try to look up and see
undocumented immigrants, including DACA holders, including DACA holders, are ineligible to receive federal public benefits.
Okay. Look up and see if New York housed undocumented immigrants.
Was that the state of New York or the federal government?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
There are
because we're talking about the federal
There are
government.
taxpaying Americans.
You're increasing the scope. You're increasing the scope of the live. We're talking about.
I'm not
the federal
actually
government.
increasing it. I'm shrinking it.
No, no, you're not. No, because
do it state by state. Then
the scope of the live is the federal government, right? The live doesn't talk about state governments. It's too much goddamn shit to remember, right? I'm not going to remember the laws for or what the actual individual events for every single one of the 50 states. If New York, as a state, wants to support undocumented immigrants, then you should support that, right? Because you're returning that right to the states.
Run that by me one more time.
So, are you for returning more government-given rights to the state level? Decreasing the federal government's hold on the citizens.
I am 1,000%. 1,000%.
Okay,
I am for. Hold on.
Yeah.
With the purview of American taxpayers being put at the foremost, the prominence.
Right. So if the state votes for something, then that is the taxpayers voting for something, right? So we can agree that legislation being passed by the state is the state taxpayers passing that legislation.
Okay, well, I'll go with that. I know it's going to bite me in the ass for saying it, but yeah, I'm
well, I mean, it's not bad. My main point is that if it's the state of New York doing it, we can't really talk about that in good faith because you should support power returning to the state level as somebody in your position.
Oh, I'm all about a smaller footprint for the federal government. Yes.
Right. So then all we can really talk about is whether or not the federal government is providing undocumented immigrant aid. And from everything that I can see, they don't. They just do not.
Okay, I'll have to do some more research on that one.
Yeah, and that's fair.
But I disagree.
I just looked it up
because
myself. Like I've looked at like 4 sources in this time, and that looks like it's the case. You might be able to find like isolated incidents of somebody who you might consider or whose review status was revoked, and maybe they were given assistance while they were in the asylum process before their asylum process was determined to be false. But like I don't know, it looks like it would be at such a small level that it's probably negligible for the federal government budget anyway. To be honest, I would attack military spending before I attack anything related to what I can see that we're giving to any immigrants at all, to be honest. We didn't hear that last bit at all.
Okay, sorry. I think military spending is the only thing we don't need to touch.
It's over $1 trillion now.
I don't care if it's $2 trillion.
That's amazing. That's crazy. Why would we ever need that?
I don't. Because I like to be able to go outside and stand on my porch and not be afraid.
Okay. Well, I think we could do that with half the military spending budget, because then we would be like tied for second. I mean, tied for first.
But
sorry,
did you know?
We would be tied with another country for first.
Would you agree if I made this statement? The only reason why America is not being invaded is because of our military.
Not necessarily, no. Not at this point. Not in the year of our Lord 2025.
So what is the reason why we haven't been?
I think that our foreign policy has thus far actually made us friends across the globe, such to the extent that whether or not our spending was all like twice as much as the country in second place, we just wouldn't be invaded because everybody knows we have tons and tons of allies. But that conceptually is being shaken up right now. We have less allies.
The richest
right
countries, the richest countries in the world, as a collective majority, hate us.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, they've hated us since the 90s.
Which countries are you referring to?
The ones that float on a sea of oil.
Oh, like
Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can say this subjectively and objectively.
We regularly make deals with the Saudis, at least. Like we have a mutually beneficial relationship with them.
Yes, but once again, I'm going to make an analogy, and you're going to say, "Oh, stop making those analogy." I buy a car off the guy with a used car lot down here. That don't mean I like him. It's just we make a deal that benefits both of us. That don't mean I like him.
Right, but regularly making deals that benefit both of us is something that will keep them on our good side, right? Like that is an allyship in a sense. They're not going to attack us because then the deals are going to fucking stop, right? We're one of their main source of trade.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to get into Iran and Afghanistan, those are different stories. Like that's a.
I would rather never get back into those because I've spent way too much time there.
Well, that's fair. That is fair.
But I will tell you that every common person in those countries hates us.
Okay, yeah, I believe it. We're imperialist bastards, really.
You know, the one exception I can say.
No, go for it.
Kuwait.
Okay, that's fair.
Any Kuwaiti citizen that was within the age of understanding after 1991 loves the United States of America.
But why though?
Because we kept them from being southern Iraq.
Hell yeah. What did we get out of it?
I don't think we got too much anything. We got a port down there. We got a little bit better trading partner, but we were always good trading partners with Kuwait. if Bush hadn't have said no, every soldier that had served would have got a solid gold medal. But Bush said no, we're not mercenaries.
Yeah, that's fair. He honestly, being that it's Bush, he probably just did it to save money. But also, yeah, I mean that makes sense. You know,
Big Bush, not little Bush.
You know what you're signing up for. Yeah, I mean, both. To be honest, and any president probably would have said the same thing because that is, I mean, that's legitimately a cost, right?
But in order to say that if you voted for Trump, you're not a patriot, you've got to get a blanket definition of what a patriot is.
Yeah, anybody who wants what's best for the country and every single person within it. That's where we differ.
But I don't believe every single person in this country should be in this country.
Then that's where we differ. I have very few exceptions, and you have many exceptions, right? That's where we differ.
I don't believe in naturalized citizenship. I do believe in...
What is naturalized citizenship? Do you want to explain that so that you can...
Well,
just
in my understanding, naturalized, anybody that's born within the borders.
Okay, so I'm not a citizen then by that. If we throw out birthright citizenship, then I'm not a citizen.
Okay, Canada maybe?
No, I was born here. That's the only reason I'm a citizen.
The only reason you're a citizen is because so your parents weren't citizens.
No, they also were, but I'm a citizen because I was born here. I did not apply for citizenship.
That's not the only reason. That's not the only reason because your parents were
literally is, actually. So if my parents were both citizens and went to stay a year somewhere else and had me there, would I be a citizen? Automatically?
Yes.
No, I would not. I would have to apply for it.
Yes, you would.
I would have to apply for it.
No. If
I would.
No, there are tens of thousands of Koreans, South Koreans, that married service members had children while the service members were deployed, and they had naturalized citizenship because they were born to American service members.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe you're right, but as far as I can tell from the actual laws that I've looked into, I would at least have to fill out a form. Well, my parents would.
Service members that married a South Korean nationalist had children. All they had to do was show their marriage certificate, and when they arrived back here in the United States, the child got an American birth certificate.
Is that specific to that particular situation by any chance?
Well, I haven't been to every country in the world. I spent 2 years in South Korea, so I know this.
Yeah, there could have been legislation that specifically applied to that particular situation, and it might only.
But
apply
see, now
to
that's on the same
well.
thing that you just said about. It's the same thing you just said that we can't talk about every single state. Well, I can't talk about 176 sovereign nations or 206 sovereign nations on the planet.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, yeah, it's easier if like what you're citing is only applicable in one scenario, if that makes sense. But if we don't know, that's fine. There is at least one situation in which you could be born elsewhere. But I'm seeing from the chat they think it might be on military bases, which would be U.S. soil.
Well, that really doesn't count on. No, it's not on military bases because in South Korea, the hospitals during the time of the Korean War, they didn't have that many hospitals on military bases.
That leads me to believe it was probably specified legislation then that applied to other hospitals in the specific.
Yeah,
context.
it probably applied to Germany too.
Right, which makes sense.
I'm not sure about Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if there was something extracurricular there that it was specific to actual service members who were engaged out there, which is fine. That's totally fine. I think they should be citizens.
Civilians, journalists.
But my point is, and I think this is where we're kind of getting to, is that I think more people should be citizens than you think should be. I think I'm just on a level where I think that most people should be just granted amnesty. Unless you can prove that they committed some kind of crime, in which case remove them.
Not amnesty, asylum.
No, I'm in favor of mass amnesty. I am in favor of the asylum process overall as it stands as well. I think it needs to be made faster and more efficient, but I don't think that we should sacrifice any of the vetting process.
Okay, so if a bill went through that made legal asylees an easier route to become a United States citizen, but shut down 100% of all illegal or undocumented border crossings, would you be in favor of that?
Well, sure, maybe, but you can't do that. And also, you're talking about, like, the asylum process is allowed from anywhere, right? You can come in literally anywhere and claim asylum. So
through a port of entry?
No, literally anywhere. That can't apply to asylum, right? Because if you're escaping Cuba in a cooler, you are a legitimate asylee, right? You're going to have a good case for asylum. Agreed?
If you're escaping Cuba in a cooler, but now what are you escaping for? Is it because, like my former father-in-law, that he immigrated from Iraq because one of Saddam Hussein's sons wanted to rape and murder his daughter?
Well,
are you talking about that? Or are you talking about somebody that just wants to go there so they can get a better job?
No, I'm talking about somebody who, like, legitimately, it could be anything. That's not for us to worry about. If you're escaping Cuba and the only way out is in a cooler across the ocean to Florida, where is your legal port of entry?
Your legal port of entry if you're on a cooler.
Yeah.
I know that's the extreme right there. You'll have to be picked up and taken to a port of entry. And it sucks. But
that's not
citizens
the law.
of the United States of America.
My point is that's not the law for the asylum process. The asylum process allows you to come in any way you can as long as you're claiming asylum. Once you've claimed asylum, you go through the process and go to court so that you can be heard. And then they determine whether or not your claim is legitimate. What do you mean, what about those that get lost?
Those that get lost in the system that say, okay, come back in 3 weeks, but they don't come back in 3 weeks. They go find their cousin somewhere and shack up with them and never go back to court.
Then they're in breach. Then they can be rightly have their asylum case thrown out, and they could be apprehended and deported. Sure.
Okay, 100% on that. Then we're there's got to be a better way to do this.
Well, so this is the kind of thing that we were asking during the election cycle leading up to the actual election, right? If Trump is going to do mass deportations, how is he going to facilitate finding all of the undocumented immigrants? What is his plan for that?
One at a time.
That's not a plan, though, right? How do you even find one at a time? How do you find them?
Okay, now how many have been deported since Trump's taken office?
I actually don't know the current numbers on that. Do you?
It's in the tens of thousands. But, and now since that has started, God, you type fast.
Thank you. That's a fairly recent development. You were in the middle of something.
Do you think that the amount of people we have deported since Trump took office has deterred or influences the amount of undocumented illegal immigrants coming across the border?
So I will say Trump is deporting fewer people than Biden was in his last year in office. Now, that's not insane to say. One, because
no.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. But one of the main causes, at least right now, is that crossings are also down, right? So when we look at it,
And the reason for that being
that Trump is in office, right? That just the optics of that, right? So when Biden was in office, the borders weren't open like everyone was saying they were, right? We still had all of the same border policies. Everything was happening.
But they were squishy.
No, they weren't. We turned away 50% of all estimated undocumented cases. 50% were just immediately rejected.
But we were having 10,000 illegal immigrants a month.
Right. There was a
week,
huge fucking crisis. Do you think that maybe some of that crisis could be attributed to the fact that right-wing outlets were constantly saying the border was open, come on in? Maybe
Do I
some
think
of
it's
it?
because people... No.
Do you think optically it's bad when right-wing outlets are constantly saying we have an open border? Do you think maybe that encourages people to think that we might have an open border?
I do not think that at all, because that'd be just the same as me saying, oh, here in my hometown we have a drug problem, and that means more drug dealers come to my hometown.
No, that's not what I'm arguing, right? What I'm saying
You're
is
arguing that people are hearing that from right-wing outlets that there is a open border, so that makes them think, oh, I can just come on in.
Exactly. So the proper analogy for you would be, hey, my town has a drug problem. No, the proper analogy would be, hey, my town is fine with dealing drugs, so all drug dealers can come on in. That's what it would be. And then, yes, more drug dealers would come on in.
I would agree with you if it wasn't a fact that the number of illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, drastically shut down the week as soon as Trump came in office.
Because of optics, right? There's not even enough time to change the process for that. No process
yes, there was.
had been
he
changed
deployed
that
1,500.
fast. No.
He deployed 1,500 National Guard and Army Reserves to the southern border. Yes, he did, and I can give you their names.
You can give me all 1,500 names?
No, I can give you a couple of them. I mean, I still got some people I served with him. But yeah, as soon as he came in, that was one of his first things. Hey, go down there and shut that shit down. So it did happen.
All right, fair enough.
Do
you think optics might have played a slight role in the actual crisis?
I don't think optics from the right did.
Okay, because everybody is constantly saying that Trump is, his main problem is optics from the left, right? That he would be able to get more done if news outlets weren't saying he's bad, which is laughably wrong. Like, he wouldn't just automatically be able to do more. But people say that a lot, right? So if right-wing outlets are constantly lambasting the fact that the border's open, why do you not think that that would increase the numbers of crossings?
Because I don't think the people that are crossing are paying attention to right-wing news outlets.
They are. Actually, Fox News is one of the most viewed news networks in the world. Not just in the U.S.
Yeah. So
right,
you're
saying
that
saying
because
it all the time.
The right said it was the right. It was the right's fault.
No, I'm trying to ask if maybe that at least played a part. Can you acknowledge that maybe some people saw that there's an open border to the U.S. and they can just go in?
I'll give you a maybe.
Okay. I'll take it. That's all I'm trying to get, really. In any case,
I don't see how voting for Trump makes you non-patriotic.
Okay, well, I mean, he's deporting people who don't actually deserve to be deported, or at least we have seen no evidence that any of them deserve to be deported. Right? He's claiming the Alien Enemies
other
Act.
Other than the one United States citizen that they're fighting about right now, other than the one, there was a true United States citizen that got deported. Who else we got?
Which one are you referring to?
I don't know his name.
Are you talking about Abrego Garcia?
I think is that the one that's at the internment camp or the prison right now.
Yeah, internment camp is a good word for it.
Unless you've ever seen one.
Yeah, no. Even if the conditions are about the same. But
okay, but other than that one,
he actually wasn't a full U.S. citizen. He technically didn't even have legal status. I read more up on him today. He didn't have legal status. His deportation was being blocked by court orders, but sure. But why deport him to an El Salvadoran prison? That's fucking crazy. But
because
other than
one
him,
else will house him.
But the question is, other than him, and absolutely the courts have determined there was no right to deport him, and they need to bring him back, and they're saying they're trying to do that. We'll see how that goes. But other than him, yeah, we've had a PhD student disappeared off her city street in the middle of the day.
Oh, I saw that video.
Yep. So those were just...
You're talking about the anti-Semitic, right?
Yeah, but she wasn't anti-Semitic. She isn't anti-Semitic.
But she was.
No, she wasn't. She's pro-Palestinian. There's a difference. Pro-Palestinian is not anti-Semitic.
She encouraged a protest against Israel and the blockades and the occupation of college properties.
No. She encouraged protest.
I mean, I read her dissertation.
She encouraged protest against the Israeli government. That's what she did.
She encouraged students to boycott and to sit in on college campuses and to occupy college buildings.
Oh, yeah, but not to any detriment of any specific students. So it's not anti-Semitic, right? They're doing sit-ins for Palestine, not against Jewish students.
Okay, so if you're a pro-Palestinian and you decide to do a sit-in in a library and I'm a Jewish student, do you think I can go into that library?
Well, nobody can because there's a sit-in, right? That's not anti-Semitism.
But in what way do they have the right to block?
But
you can't block public access.
You should be able to, right? That's a right afforded by the Constitution. By the First Amendment.
No.
The most important amendment.
Peaceably
assemble.
Peaceful?
Yes, a sit-in is peaceful.
In a public forum.
Yes, absolutely. That's the only place you could do it.
But
you can't do it in a private building.
But you can't do that to block other people's access to it.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you absolutely can.
Okay, so you're telling me that if half the people here didn't like their water bill and they went up there and said at the water company and I can't go get my water turned on and they're depriving my children of running water and indoor plumbing, that's peaceful?
Close. Again, you can't do this on private property, so the water company is private property.
No, it is not. A water company is a public utility. It is a public forum.
Okay, then yes, yeah, you could do that for sure, yeah.
And you think that's okay because we're just being peaceful?
As long as you're not doing damage or causing bodily harm to anybody, then yes, for sure. Exercise your right to peaceably assemble. But only in a public forum.
But your peaceful assembly can't be detriment to the rest of the public.
But
that's just like saying standing out there and peacefully assembling in the middle of the road.
No,
do you agree with that?
This is not to the detriment of the general public, right? You can literally just say, I could not pay my water bill because there was an assembly, right? That is also your right. Like, they have to acknowledge that there was an assembly in that case, and you have to be given the right to pay your bill later. Like, this is not...
So you agree with
this is a faulty
blocking
thing
public roads?
Sure, yeah. Why not?
Okay, so my mother has a heart attack. I've got to take her to the hospital. I get out, but they're blocking the public road.
Get out of your car, walk up to them, explain your situation. I guarantee they will part for you.
I guarantee they won't.
100% they will part for you in that situation.
1,000% they won't.
Okay, so you're just assuming something about however many people you think have done this. Why are you
And
making
you're
assumptions?
assuming something. You're making the same assumption. You're making the opposite assumption, but it's still an assumption.
Right, because I've actually worked alongside some of these people and you haven't. So I actually know some of them. And every single one I've worked with would definitely allow you through the picket. Every single one. Not even a question.
I don't think so.
But that's on you. I don't know what to... They have the right to peaceably assemble. That is afforded by the Constitution in the most important amendment, the first.
Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press.
Petition.
What about the
and
Fourth
religion.
Amendment?
Unreasonable search and seizure?
Mm-hmm. Or
what
what is it? The seventh. What about the seventh? The right to travel unabated.
Yeah. What about it?
So you're saying their First Amendment right can trample on my rights?
Yeah. So they have a right to peaceably assemble in a public forum.
And
right?
do I have the right to travel unabated?
Yeah. Go another way.
Have you ever been in a place where there ain't that many roads?
Yes. Yeah.
Then how am I going to go another way?
Go off the road. Travel unabated.
So it's okay for them to exercise their rights, but not for me to travel freely down the road.
Travel unabated.
Okay, how about I just don't stop?
Then you're committing manslaughter at least, and murder at worst. Your rights end where theirs begin.
And theirs ends where mine began.
Right, but yeah, your right to travel unabated doesn't trump their right to peaceably assemble.
So you're telling you have never seen the videos where people try to go around the blockades and people jump out in front of them.
So
now, if you're going to say that, you're just okay. If I'm trying to go around and they jump out in front of me and I hit them, whose fault is it, mine or theirs?
You're supposed to go in a completely other direction. That's what I'm advocating for. You're not supposed to go
So
through
you're telling
the
me that
blockade.
I need to turn my rights around and go back? Why don't they turn their rights around and go back?
Maybe you should have just gone the other way to begin with. I don't know.
Why? Well, maybe they shouldn't stand in the middle of the road.
Maybe they should, though.
And maybe I should keep traveling.
See,
that's what I'm saying. You're saying that those...
I think this is why this is up to the courts, right? Like, this conversation won't ever get anywhere.
Yeah, because you're butting heads with rights.
Right, and that's why the conversation
1000%.
won't ever get anywhere here. Because I think that, yes, they have the right to block you. I also think that, yes, if you're in a situation where you absolutely need to get through, 100% of these people will be willing to let you through. If there is any percentage that wouldn't, the others will pull them out of the way.
So you're telling me that you've not seen the videos where people are stopped and people come by and start beating on their vehicles and stuff?
I'm sure that's happened, yeah, for sure. I've also seen evidence that like George Floyd protests got out of hand because of detractors from the right breaking windows and shit.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And I've seen where people sitting there waiting on people to come by, and George Floyd, and the Ferguson. Now I had to watch the Ferguson stuff on TV because I was in South Korea at the time, where people doing nothing got their windows bashed in.
Okay, you do understand that then is a crime, right?
Yes, but at what point in time am I sitting there and the first person that breaks my window has me fearing for my life and I don't just hit the gas? Am I not allowed to defend myself?
I mean, at that point, like, I don't know. You could definitely argue that in court. Like, yeah, if you're fearing for your life, man, do what you got to do, bud. Sure.
But that's a huge. That's now
right,
one thing.
but
have you seen the First Amendment audit videos?
What?
The First Amendment audit videos.
People
do the First Amendment audits.
Audits? Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
You've never seen any of those?
I have no.
People with
like people
cameras
just going
and stuff
on
like
to
that.
actual. Yes, I have seen some of those. Yeah.
But on public, in a traditional public forum,
Yeah.
I 100% 100% support that 1,000%.
Same. Yeah.
I think there should be 100% transparency. I am not a thin blue line kind of guy. I think that qualified immunity should be abolished blanket.
Yeah, for sure. We totally agree on that. For sure. Absolutely.
100%. I would
That's
love. I'm a big Charlie Kirk. I'm a big Charlie Kirk supporter, but I'd like to ask him why he has a blanket support for police officers in America.
Well, he wouldn't. He would lose half of his following. Is why he won't do that.
Because this is my opinion on this subject. More innocent people are killed by cops than cops are killed by innocent people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just
That is
according to
my
the numbers.
100%.
Oh, yeah. Based as hell. Yeah, I think we almost completely see eye to eye on just law enforcement issues. That's great, fantastic.
I do think that the videotaping in public, and I think it's 100% covered by the right to free press. But one day, it's going to bite all these First Amendment auditors in the ass because somebody's going to be out there as in the guise of a First Amendment auditor, and they're going to turn it into something else.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think that the First Amendment auditors know that eventually. I think that most of these people doing this honestly probably think that
Paycheck.
Their career will end in some kind of violence brought upon them. And I don't think they're worried about it.
I think the majority of them are there for a paycheck.
Right, but I think they've thought about the logical conclusion, right? Eventually you're going to meet somebody who just doesn't want to deal with that shit, and you're going to get your shit beat in.
Yeah.
And they still do it. Like, there's no way you haven't thought about that possibility. What I'm doing...
No, I've thought about it 100 times.
No, I mean, yeah, exactly. It doesn't take much thought. But what I'm doing here, the logical end for me under this administration is that I literally could get forcibly removed from the United States for my viewpoint. That's what it's looking like could eventually happen. I think that's a legitimately real possibility. I'm not afraid of it. I just think it could actually happen based on all the things I've seen them do so far.
I don't think it'll ever be to that point. No.
If it does get to that point, what are we going to do about it?
If it gets to the point to where they're just blanket
removing
deporting,
leftists,
removing random TikTok creators.
No, not random leftists that are speaking out against the administration. What are we going to do?
I don't see that ever. I don't see that ever coming to fruition. But I think if it ever got to that point, I think America would stand back up, and those who are against the Second Amendment will be glad that there are some people that still believe in it.
Interesting, because every time I bring this up, I have people in the chat saying good, like they want it to happen. So I'm glad. I legitimately, that is a thing that we deal with. There are people in this country who would support me being deported just for my viewpoints. That is something that exists here. But I am glad to see you wouldn't support that. I am glad to hear that you would stand up.
I live in Tennessee, where being a Democrat is something. Some people around here were born that way, and it is in their blood just as much as anything else.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? If I didn't have nobody to argue with, the world would be a very boring place.
It's true, yeah. It would be. I don't know what I would be doing, but I would not be up here all the time.
No, but I'm still going to disagree with your premise that you said you aren't patriotic if you voted for Trump.
Well, that's fair. To be honest, I think that there are some exceptions to my prompt. I think overall, at this point, if you still support him, you're teetering very close to losing the possibility that you could possibly be a patriot. But
I did 5 combat tours. Trust me,
Yeah.
I'm a patriot.
Well, that's fair, but again, you gotta. I think we gotta leave it at this. I will be glad to have you back up again, but to be honest, I actually have to go to sleep. So I have
it's 11
enjoyed.
o'clock.
I have enjoyed, and I hope you have too. And we'll talk to you later.
I'm at the bottom of a cup of coffee.
Hell yeah!
All
Man.
right.
Take it easy.
All right, later.
Look, and there are 163 people in here. I see 112 new followers. That means there's at least 40 people in here. Sorry, terrible fast math. It is late. There are at least 50 people in here who haven't followed me yet. At least. So give me a follow. I want to see at least 10 down there right now. If you haven't joined the team, also hit the little heart that comes up afterward. Give me that 1 coin gift and join the team. It'll help you come back. If you're feeling absolutely crazy and you like what I'm doing up here, feel free to sub. Look, I'm not telling you got to do it. Thank you for joining the team. I'm not telling you got to do it, but ultimately, subscriptions save lives. And in the meantime, look, I'll see you all soon enough. I will probably see you all tomorrow night. But in the meantime, just stay golden, all right? Just, that's all I ever want you to do, really. Just stay golden. You too, YouTube. I'll get you guys, look, I know. I've been neglectful. But I will get you guys more involved shortly. I will figure out how to do this in such a way as to make sure you guys are just as enriched as TikTok at some point, okay? It's just TikTok has been so kind to me. So we have some priorities right at the moment. But I'll get to y'all.